All right, my friends, so we're going to look at the next one together. This is part 2 video. Um, Again, our first equation here, x plus 4y equals 3. So this x is going to be pretty easy to solve for because it's all alone. There's no number in front of it. So that's what I'm going to choose to do for our first step, which is isolate one of the variables in either equation. To do that, we're just gonna, this is a positive 4y, so we're just gonna subtract 4y on both sides. 4y minus 4y is 0. So we figure out what x is equal to, which is a negative 4y plus 3. And now we're gonna take this expression of negative 4y plus 3 and plug it in for x in our second equation. So instead of a 2 times x, we're going to do 2 times negative 4y plus 3 minus a 3y equals 17. Distribute this 2. 2 times negative 4y is a negative 8y. 2 times 3 is 6. Minus 3y equals 17. We have a negative 8y, and we're subtracting a 3y. So that is going to be negative 11y plus 6 equals 17. Move this positive 6 to the other side by subtracting 6 from both sides. And we get negative 11y equals 11. Divide both sides by negative 11, of course, to get y equals negative 1. So there's part of our solution. Something, comma, negative 1. Now we take that y value and we're going to plug it in. I would plug it into the first equation just because that equation is a little simpler. So we have x plus 4y, which we now know is negative 1, equals 3. 4 times negative 1 is a negative 4. Since this is a negative 4, we'll just add 4 to both sides. And 3 plus 4 gets us 7. So our x coordinate is 7, which means our full solution, there's one solution at 7 comma negative 1. Yay! When you're ready, pause, get any notes that you need to, and move to slide 9 when you're all set. So a false statement indicates that there's no solution, and a true statement indicates many solutions. We have seen the true statement so far. We haven't seen a false one yet. So if we solve this one, 3x plus 2y equals 6 and 6x plus 4y equals 12, as we graph them both here, we would end up canceling out the variables like we saw in that example because they are the same line. This is an example of infinitely many solutions because we will get just a true statement like we got 8 equals 8. The variables canceled out completely. Slide 10, if we solve this system, we would end up with a false statement, and that means that there's no solution. So if the variables cancel out and it's a false statement, for example, 0 equals negative 4, that's false, it's not true. So that means that this means there's no solution to that system. So these two lines will never touch. And this is what the graph will look like. Beautiful. Slide 11, let's look at some more practice problems. And over to the right, you can see I put the steps. So hopefully that's helpful to see what we're doing. Our first step is isolate one of the variables in one of the equations. So I'm gonna, actually we don't even have to because look at here, this is already isolated. We already have y by itself and it's equal to 3 plus x. So that step is actually done. Amazing. So we're going to substitute that 3 plus x in for y. Again, because it's equal to y, so we can plug it in for y. So we'll have x plus 3 plus x equals 5. And again, this started as x plus y equals 5, but then we just plugged in that expression for y. This is all addition, so we're just distributing a positive 1 to get rid of the parentheses. 1x plus 1x is 2x plus 3 equals 5. Subtract 3 on both sides to get 2x equals 2. And then divide both sides by 2 to get x equals 1. So that is step 2. And we ended up with part of our solution. And step 3, solve for the variable. Now step 4 is we're going to take that value and plug it into either equation to get the second variable. So we can plug it into y equals 3 plus x, but now we know that x is 1, so y is 3 plus 1, which is 4. Boom. So our coordinate is 1, 4. Done. Beautiful. This has one solution at 1, 4. Push to slide 12 for the next one. Isolate one of the variables in one of the equations. Again, I see this x is all by itself with no number, so that's the equation I'm going to choose to isolate. So we have a 3y plus x equals 7. So to get x alone, we need to subtract 3y on both sides, and then we're just left with x equals 7 minus 3y. So this is step 1, isolated one of the variables. And so now this is what x is equal to, 7 minus 3y. So we're going to take that expression and plug it in for x in our second equation. So we have 4x minus 2y equals 0, but instead of an x, we're plugging in 7 minus 3y minus 2y equals 0. Distribute the 4 to get 28. 4 times 7 is 28. 4 times negative 3y is a minus 12y. And then we have our minus 2y equals 0. Negative 12y minus 2y is a negative 14y. We can add that 14y to the other side so we can get it away from the 28. And then we're just left with 28 equals 14y. Divide both sides by 14. 28 divided by 14 tells us that y is equal to 2. Now we take that value of 2 and plug it in for y to either equation, doesn't matter. So I'll choose the first one, 3y plus x equals 7. But now we know that y is 2. So 3 times 2 plus x equals 7, which is 6 plus x equals 7. Subtract 6 on both sides, x equals 1. So our solution is 1, 2. There's our x and our y. And we moved through all those steps there. Hopefully you're feeling a bit more confident as we're working through these steps, but wherever you're at is perfect. This is just the first activity of this lesson, okay? We're going to do 2 more together. So we have x equals 3 minus y. Notice this is already isolated. This has step 1 already completed. We love when that happens. So 3 minus y is equal to x. So we're going to plug it in for x. So we have this equation, x plus y equals 7, but now we know that x is actually 3 minus y. So I just substituted it in, wrote the same equation except for instead of an x, I put 3 minus y. Now we can drop the parentheses. There's nothing to distribute in front. Negative y plus y cancel out, and then we're just left with 3 equals 7, which is obviously a false statement. So this is no solution. The lines are actually parallel. So if we went to our Desmos graph and typed in x equals 3 minus y and x plus y equals 7, here are these two lines, parallel. We could zoom out. They are never going to touch. You can see they're just going to be right next to each other forever. So this is an example of what no solution looks like. And again, this was because negative y plus y cancels out to 0 or 0y. So they go away, and then we just have 3 equals 7, which is false. Push to slide 14. Last one we're going to look at today. I see this y does not have a number in front of it, so that's where I'm going to start, try and get that y alone. And I'm going to do that by subtracting 2x on both sides. So then we have y equals this negative 2x and 4. Beautiful. So we have isolated one of the variables in the equation. Check. Check. Now we're going to substitute this expression in for y and do our second equation. So we have 4x plus 2y equals 8. But we now know that y is just a negative 2x plus 4. Here we're going to distribute that positive 2. 2 times negative 2x is a negative 4x. 2 times 4 is 8. And 4x minus 4x is 0x, which cancels out to just 0. So we have 8 equals 8. So this is a true statement. So this means we have infinite solutions because our variable canceled, but we have a true statement. Beautiful. So these two lines are actually the exact same line. On the last slide for the pear deck, I just want to do a little check-in slide. I want you to think about one thing you can do to take care of yourself today. Maybe it's restful, maybe it's a movement, maybe it's an activity or an affirmation, just something you're going to do to take care of yourself today. And another box, if you want me to reach out to you to find a time to meet and what time works best for you, if that is the case, you can answer in that box right there, okay? I know that this new lesson is a bit different. We're really engaging our algebra skills. It might seem overwhelming, but just with more practice this week, you are going to feel much better when we get towards the end of the week, I promise. And if you're really struggling, make sure to fill out this box right here and let me know that you want to meet with me and I can help you. Okay? Oops. I don't know what I just did. Okay. Take care of yourself, my friends. Enjoy the rest of your days. And I will see you in the next video. Bye, everyone.